Welcome to iPad Pros, the show all about using your iPad to be productive and get work done. I'm Tim Chen, host of the show.
Welcome back to the podcast, Riley.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's first time in 2025, right?
I believe it is.
And I was, seeing who I knew that potentially would buy a new iPad, and I was thinking, I was joking. It's like Riley surely didn't buy any new iPads. He just bought a boatload last year, but no, you opted to get the new Air. So we're gonna chat about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I'm proud owner of a blue M3 iPad Air.
And we'll discuss how blue they are, of course.
I
joke.
It should be in quotes, yes. No, you're right.
No. The more expensive they get, the less colors you get. But so we're going to talk about the new iPads, both the base and the Air. And the Beats headphones I wanted to chat about as well. There's been new products recently enough that we haven't really chatted much about that on the podcast. And then maybe a bit on Apple Intelligence. We'll see what we have time for. But yeah, let's start with the iPads. So we have an update from the 10th generation iPad, which stuck around quite a while because they were just trying to, I think, get the price down, that sucker, which last year they dropped it $100 from $449 to $349, which is great. And then they were able to update that with a modern, newer chip this year, the A16. Otherwise unchanged in every regard. Is that accurate?
Same colors. The starting storage size is 128 now.
That's right. That was the other big thing. Like, even beyond chip, the storage is what really gets you with Apple pricing.
Yeah.
But so 128
128
is a really good starting point, I think.
It is, yeah. It 100% is, and that makes both of the new iPads, the starting configurations, much more enticing. You don't feel like you immediately have to jump up to the next level.
No, and it goes up to 512 gigabytes now, which that's for $649. I don't know who's spending $649 on a base iPad, but I mean, it's a good iPad. But I don't know if I'd do that or not. I gotta say the yellow in the base looks like fire. That seems
they have real colors on the base iPad, but it remains the only iPad that supports the Magic Keyboard Folio.
It's true.
That accessory they made that I know people say the iPad accessory lineup is confusing, but it just seems like it'd be nice to offer that style of keyboard to all the models. Like, make a version that works for everything. For some people prefer the kickstand style case.
For sure.
Be a nice option.
And I was mystified, miffed, I don't know the right word. They didn't take the opportunity to change the magnet orientation to support the Apple Pencil Pro. That seemed like the last bastion of let's clean up the Apple Pencil lineup. We can finally get rid of that lightning and the adapter to use the fancy pencil on the base iPad. But no, you still need to use that crazy dongle adapter thing to use the fancy pencil, the original pencil on that iPad. There's no Apple Pencil Pro support. They figured out how to put magnets in the proper way for the Air and the Pro, but maybe the iPad 12th generation will finally get there.
And it's a harder choice, something of a hard choice, I guess, if you're a base iPad user, because you can either choose the USB-C Apple Pencil, which gets you most of the way there, but the first gen Apple Pencil still has pressure sensitivity. USB-C does not. So it's like,
$20 more. They still sell it for $100. Yeah, wild.
It's a confusing.
It's held its value over time, that original.
It has. But I've talked about this before, but just the idea that, and we're seeing a little bit of this, with the revisions they've been doing over the last year. But the iPad lineup, the hardware, I feel like the low end hardware has been too low end compared to the high end of the iPad lineup. And they need to bring everything up to like a better base level, if that makes sense. Like, every iPad should support the Apple Pencil Pro, right? Really, every iPad should support Stage Manager, but that's, probably never going to happen. But like, that should just be a standard feature.
You'd I do wonder when Apple Intelligence comes to the base iPad, probably the next iteration, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, RAM is a part of Stage Manager, so maybe, if it supports Apple Intelligence, it also supports, that'd be
You'd hope so.
logical.
They had that opportunity with the newer iPad Mini, and they chose not to take it. Which the Mini did get bumped to 8 gigs.
It did. It's
They
got a
still
smaller
have not.
screen. Maybe they're like, you can't do that on a small screen, but maybe.
I'm sure they did, but I feel like if I remember correctly, when Stage Manager was announced, one of those like really, industrious developers like had hacked the original version to run on an iPad Mini, and it worked fine. Like,
Yeah, I'm
wasn't even
sure it
like-
would work fine, right? That's the thing.
Yeah, it would, but it's like I'm still. Last I knew, there wasn't a ton of like specific developer support things you could do for Stage Manager. Like Stage Manager is built on the idea that you're building your app to be resizable.
Mhm.
Like that's fun. The idea that it's based on, um, but if it's limited to the M series chips and not what are probably the more popular iPads, the less expensive ones, like what is the incentive? It just makes the choice hard for developers of like wanting to try to support that feature because like most iPads realistically don't run it. It just kind of sucks. I really want them to. I mean, they probably won't, but I really want them to find new ways of differentiating between the different iPad models. Like they don't do this on the Mac. They don't
No.
hold major.
If you have
features.
a MacBook Air, you don't get a lack of
Yeah.
window management.
Right. Or, you can. I mean, they did kind of correct that a little bit with the new base iPad, because it does support Final Cut Pro. So now every new iPad that's on sale today can run Final Cut Pro for iPad.
Which, that's great. Yeah.
It is.
Because,
Formerly
like,
M-series only.
students, like, that's a thing. You
Yeah.
have a video project, and let's use Final Cut, right?
Exactly.
The cellular price I was just looking into, it used to be $129, I remember back in the day, but now it's $150 to add cellular to the base iPad or the iPad Air, or $200 if you got a Pro, because it's more expensive to add radios if you're a professional.
Obviously.
Obviously. So I just thought that was curious that 150 is kind of the price point there.
We were hoping for the C1, right? And like,
Yeah,
these
it
iPads.
didn't show up except for on the iPhone SE. So I'm curious how that'll change things. I'm curious. Pricing is not one of the things they'll just probably make them more profitable to sell, is my guess.
That feels like the most likely path they'll take. Like, I don't think they'll lower the price. I don't think it'll just be included. I've seen some people speculate like, oh, everything will just have cellular. It's like, no, they're not going to turn down that extra money. No way.
It'll be curious once they build it into the chip. Like once the M3 just has cellular built into it, I'm sure they'll make a version with it not built into it as well, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
The only thing I could see is maybe Macs finally get cellular chips for the first time because of this.
I think part of it is, I assume even if they're not, buying Qualcomm chips, they're probably still paying licensing for patents and stuff. Like, I'm sure there's a cost to build,
For sure.
building a product with cellular in it, but it's probably not $150 to $200.
Probably not. No. Yeah. So and this is a great, just basic iPad, the baseline one. But yeah, the thing that I'd want them to fix is that Apple Pencil support. Like, yeah, like one day I'd love to, if my daughter's going to get an iPad, maybe get her the base one, but I'd want her to share my Apple Pencil Pro. I don't want two pencils. I just want to dunk it onto the top, and then you can use it for a little bit, and then give it back to me, and so we don't lose it.
It's a good opportunity for third parties to come in with there are some decent third party options out there if your needs are pretty basic.
Yeah, if you don't need the pressure sensitivity stuff.
Yeah,
because there's a magnet up top that the USB-C pencil can stick on, right?
I believe so,
but it doesn't charge. Yeah, just sticks
right.
up there.
They don't. There's no charging hardware in that base iPad,
but it will stick up there, which is nice.
Yeah, it is. I had a friend who wanted to buy his kid an iPad over the holidays, but it was the 64 gigs that stopped him. It was like, I can't. he's gonna want games and movies and this and that, and like, I can't do
It's
that.
like
And there's
no
no SD
space at
card.
all, pretty much.
Yeah. So, correcting the base iPad to, updating that to be 128 gigs to me is, it's huge for that
Yeah.
iPad.
Anything else on the base iPad?
Still jealous of the colors. I wish
Yeah,
they
that
were
yellow, man. I
better.
want that yellow
Yeah.
back.
And I hope they refresh them. This iPad used to be on a yearly schedule, so I'm hoping they get back to that too.
I think they will. I think the reason it wasn't yearly was they're just waiting the time out to get the new body style down in cost. So now that they've achieved that, hopefully we'll get that yearly update that we think they should be. But yeah, the colors are so good. And then you get to the iPad Air, and you get this blue that's hardly. So they have blue, purple, and starlight, and space gray, of course.
Yeah,
These are all just
space
shades.
grays.
These all just seem like shades of silver. I mean,
I'm looking at my iPad Air and my silver M1 iPad, and they look the same basically from here.
yeah.
Like you said, different shades of silver. So but it got the M3, which is interesting because, we had been led to believe that first TSMC 3 nanometer process that the M3 was built on was like problematic, like the yields were low. As we know, in the iPhone 15 Pro, it tends to run a little hot sometimes.
It can, yeah.
From time to time. And so there was this thought that they were going to rush to the M4 as fast as possible and then be done with it. But like, we've got this M3 iPad. We got the Mini on the A17 Pro built on the same process that came out last year. So
the M3 Ultra is in the Mac Studio now, which is so weird.
Yeah, that is very strange. But it seems like maybe this process, maybe TSMC fixed whatever yield issues there were with it, or maybe it was never as expensive as we were led to believe. Who knows? But still building products on it.
Yeah, for sure. And we also got a new keyboard to go along with this.
Yeah.
And so it's basically the original Magic Keyboard design, but with a function row.
Function row and a bigger trackpad.
But
still
and it's
the same.
in white. In white only.
Yeah.
And the camera cutout precludes it from working on my M1 iPad Pro. Is that accurate?
Correct.
So if I grab some scissors, this would bop in there, you would think?
Yeah, that would be one way of doing it.
Probably inadvisable to rip apart a $270 keyboard just for some function rows.
Yeah.
It is a shame this doesn't work on the other pros, but I get it. This is for the Air, and it works with older Airs too. I guess.
Does.
Yep.
It does. It should work really from at least the M1 Air, if not basically when they redesigned it, which I think was the A14 Air.
Yeah.
It's the same body, so it really should work on all of them.
You did not get the keyboard, or did you?
I did not get the keyboard. I went for the 11-inch Air, but I didn't get the keyboard.
Do you have an existing keyboard that works with it?
I have access to one. I actually I have the Magic
It's
keyboard.
Like within the family kind of thing, so it's like not, yeah.
Yeah, that type of thing.
Okay. I gotta say, I have the 11-inch Pro, and I love having just the smart cover with it and not having a keyboard attached to it all the time. Like, kind of changes fundamentally how you use the iPad in both good and bad ways.
For all the good the Magic keyboards brought to the iPad platform, I mean, I do think there are some people who kind of forget it's a tablet. And I think there are people who just leave it in that case all the time and just use it, which is fine. I mean, use it the way you want, but like the iPad really excels as a tablet. Like just the touch interface.
Yeah. It's just like the trackpad. Like, you don't even touch the screen as much anymore if you don't want to.
And the 11-inch size, honestly, I'm maining the 13, but the 11-inch size is kind of perfect for an iPad. Like, it just feels right in so many ways.
Yeah, it's the original size, if you want to say 9.7 to 11. It's pretty close to that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was not a mistake that they landed there. It's a great size because you can it is portable enough to bring with you a little bit more than 13. It's still enough space for you to actually do work on it if you want, but it's a great entertainment experience. It's just, again, right in the middle. It's a beautiful size. I love it.
Yeah. So, did you trade in you had an M2 Air as well, right?
No, this is my first iPad Air I've ever had.
Oh,
I've had
well, okay.
Pros and Minis, but never well, I guess not never.
Yeah.
Obviously, back in the day,
back in the day, iPad Air 2,
iPad Air 2, of course.
Everyone had
But,
that one. It's
yeah,
a champ.
that was a great iPad. But,
It was, yeah.
Yeah, no, this is my first modern iPad Air.
Yeah. Remember the iPads when the smart cover had metal on the magnet part, so your iPad would get scuffed from being attached to it?
Yeah, that happened to me. I had that happen for sure.
I mean, it's fine. It's just it's interesting. Back in the day, that was a thing.
But yeah, no, this I've been using this iPad Air, working on my review for it. It's a great iPad. I know the Air name confuses people because we've been trained on the Mac, right? That Air means lightest.
Yes.
And it doesn't for the iPad, but it's not. People kind of oversell that because it's not that much.
Air
heavier.
really means, to me, standard issue iPad, standard issue Mac. This is one most people should probably get.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. It's actually, it doesn't feel as dense, I guess, as the M4 11-inch, which is kind of weird to say. But
that is because the Pro is so thin and light. Right?
Yeah, but it oddly feels denser than the Air. So even though the Air is technically heavier, it does kind of sort of feel a little bit lighter. Not by a ton, but it's weird. I can't explain it.
Yeah, I'm confused by this.
I wish I could.
Like, does the single camera system change? Just, I don't know how it feels a bit.
I don't know. It's the darndest thing. But
so,
that's what I noticed so far. Yeah.
This was so you have the 13-inch M4 Pro.
Yep.
You also had the 11-inch M4 Pro, right?
Also correct.
That's what I thought. It's like, oh, so you're adding an 11-inch to your lineup, but no, you already had an 11-inch. Where do you see this ending up as far as a computer you use? Because this is your fourth iPad for the modern. You have a Mini, 2 Pros, the Air,
and a M1 Pro that I use for testing.
Oh, that's right. So,
yeah. I mean, eventually this will probably go to a family member, but it's probably gonna. For now, it's going to be. It's going to go towards testing.
Yeah,
it's going to be one of my test devices.
Okay.
And it's going to kind of sit there. But since I have it, obviously I'm going to review it. That's kind of, I guess, what I do.
Sure.
But yeah, I've always been, like you said, the Air. I've always wanted an Air, even though I've never needed an Air, because it is just kind of like, if you can swing $600, the Air is.
What's another? Yeah, couple hundred more for the Pro. Yeah.
Yeah. But the Air is it's a good middle ground. I do wish it was a little bit more of a middle ground. There are a number of features that have been, for lack of a better word, trapped on the iPad Pro for years that haven't trickled down like they really should have by now.
ProMotion is the number one thing.
ProMotion for sure.
These are these mini LED screens?
No, they're standard.
They're
LCD
standard
displays. Okay. Yeah. So that the standard LCD displays, the 2 speakers, so you can definitely hear the difference between like if you're a Pro user with the 4 speakers and 2 in this. It's I'd argue a night and day difference to me, audio quality. But I'd argue, Face ID really should be going down the line by this, especially now that it's in every iPhone. That's every current iPhone now supports Face ID. It seems a little silly that the iPad, it's still just the iPad Pro.
Yeah.
Face ID feels so natural. Touch ID is fine, and especially if that's all you know for an iPad.
I would love both. on the
Yeah.
Pro one day, so I can be. And they should really add clamshell mode for using it to attach to a monitor, and then you can use Touch ID to authenticate. That should just be a thing.
For sure. Or
Um,
support Touch ID on your Magic keyboard for Mac.
yeah,
You know?
that's another baffling thing. They haven't figured out how to do that, because that'd be lovely.
Yeah, for sure.
It makes so much sense. The Apple Care price, it's just amusing. So for the couple $100 more, it's basically double the cost of your monthly Apple Care, from $3.99 to $7.49. I guess they really, if you break that screen, they really want to have the monthly to cover their basis there.
Yeah. But yeah, no, the M3, I mean, as you might imagine,
Does it feel hot? Does it run hot, the M3 to you?
Hasn't run hot so far.
Okay.
Not
And
so
you've
far, not in
been
my
doing
test.
video exports and
Yeah, I'm preparing a video export test just with the video I'm finishing up. I'm gonna run some export tests, do a little gaming. Gonna write some code with Swift Playgrounds. I'm still kind of in the middle of all this because I'm wrapping up another video, um, but what I've been using it for so far, I mean, it performs pretty much as well as you'd think, right? Apple kind of has this down to a science.
yeah.
The M3, I think, is roughly 20% faster than the M2. That'll probably show itself in Final Cut exports, and to a lesser extent in, building building your app in Swift Playgrounds, things like that.
Yeah. You got 128 gigabytes, the base model?
I did.
Yep.
I did. I'm so happy. I didn't have to jump up.
Yeah,
'Cause
it's
even-
funny. I think I'm kind of stuck on the higher storage tiers because my backups are so large. I have to figure out how to get those smaller.
Yeah, don't get me started there. Yeah, I do have to.
Isn't it?
I'm gonna.
Yeah,
yeah.
isn't it wild? You can't select certain apps to not be included in your backup. That should be an option. Please don't include this app that just has video files that, VLC, or something like that. It's we got to store every video file in there, even if you probably have it elsewhere.
Yeah, I don't know that Apple is particularly motivated to make that more robust, but I wish they would.
No.
For sure.
It's because they sell more iCloud space. It's very depressing. It's my Apple Vision Pro is a 700 gigabyte backup. It's this is come on, Apple. They should at least, I don't know. They should give you the space for your backup space. I think for a certain amount of time at least.
And again, they would never do this because again, the iPad was supposed to be easy, not just rehashing the
Time
PC,
machine.
but right. Let me plug in a SSD and let me just back it up locally.
Yeah.
Without having to use my Mac.
Right. Yeah. With the Vision Pro, you're just stuck. There's no other way to back up because there's no wire. There's no Mac option to back up through. Even though there could be a wireless way on the Mac, but they just decide not to. Yeah. But yeah, the Air.
Great.
But yeah,
iPad.
unchanged, same cameras and everything, right?
That's all the same. Still a 60 hertz display like we talked about. Touch ID works fine. It's, if you have an M2 iPad Air, well, I mean, I try never to be one of those people who even ask. I feel like even asking the question, like some websites do, it's like should you upgrade from your M2 Air to M3 Air? It's
iPads last a good 5 or 6 years before you really need to update them. even longer depending on your needs, right? I mean,
right, and it's I hate when they put that in people's minds.
No,
because it's the people feel, there are some people out there who still feel oh, should I be upgrading every year? It's no.
It's my M1 Pro is still a champ, but I got the M4 because I want the smaller version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, if you're, there's a good chance that the iPad Air you already have is probably still working fine. So,
But yeah, it's good that they update them. So whenever you're ready to buy that one is good. Yeah,
exactly. And we also get because we get the M3, we get the improved graphics. So whenever say Assassin's Creed Shadows shows up for iPad, we hopefully will have access to ray traced
Death Stranding, guys. Don't sleep on that. That's on iOS. It runs good there. And Death Stranding 2 is about to come out on PS5.
Yeah. I need to give that game another shot.
It is
I really do.
very, very good. But I don't want to go on a long diatribe on that amazing.
That's fair.
Yeah. But yeah, iPad keyboards are still way too expensive. It should not be basically half the price or more of the iPad to get a keyboard for it. Yeah. I mean, thankfully, a lot of them work generation to generation, but no.
Yeah. If they're going to keep it that expensive, I would like to see, and I guess this would require a redesign of the smart connector, but like another port, one that passes data, a charging port on both sides. I guess really only those two things that I care about.
Yeah. No, that'd be nice.
Thunderbolt, I guess, on the keyboard, or Thunderbolt pass through, whatever,
Oh, that'd be a wild smart connector if it could support Thunderbolt through a smart connector, man. Oh, gosh.
But, yeah. Good iPad, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess with the iPad Pros, like, how much more do you appreciate the Pro after using the Air?
The biggest thing I think I appreciate more, like, I've read for years about, even once we moved to the mini LED displays on the iPad and the Mac, people would and ProMotion, people would complain about response times on Apple displays, and I never knew what they were talking about until I got the M4 iPad Pros, both sizes. Like, one of the things about the tandem OLED display is that it's faster. It has faster response times. And now when I go back to my Mac or my mini LED iPad, I can see it now. Like, I can absolutely see what people are talking about in terms of how slow some of the response times are with this kind of, I don't know if smearing's the right word, but I think that's what I appreciate the most about the Pros now, is just how good those displays are. And they're right now still the best displays in Apple's lineup until the MacBook Pro gets them next year.
Yeah. In the nano texture, you can only get that in the Pros, which I'm a fan of that option. I think everyone should give it a shot, because it's just so nice not seeing your light bulbs and your screen and stuff. Yeah,
I may try that next generation, just to give it a shot.
As someone just for creating videos and about the iPad, being able to just capture it on a camera without seeing the camera in it would be
huge.
I would think a plus for just from that angle alone for you.
Yeah, it is kind of a pain to try to get around reflections and things like that on these displays.
For sure.
So much wiping down displays,
Yes.
I guess one more, general wish for the iPad Air before we, totally move off that. I was thinking about this because, of course, we had the MacBook Air just come out as well on the Mac side. And Apple has said the iPad Air more or less is like pro features at a cheaper price, something like that. That's kind of what they said the iPad Air is. And I hope one day it can have its own identity beyond like leftover.
The hand-me-down features, yeah.
Yeah, like if you look at the MacBook Air to the MacBook Pro, like spec-wise, everything in the MacBook Air is worse, but it has that different design that in and of itself is a feature. It's thinner and lighter than the MacBook Pro, and fast enough, right? But it's not just a watered-down MacBook Pro. It's its own thing, and with a different proposition. And I want that for the iPad Air. Like, I don't know if they try to make it lighter, or I just want it to be something more than just leftovers, Yeah. I hope one day whoever is in charge of, the iPad product line is thinking about that. Because I think it seemed like from the last couple earnings calls, like the iPad Air is doing, with the base iPad, is doing a lot of the heavy lifting on the iPad sales these days. And I just feel like they should treat it a little more seriously than they have been. And I hope they do that.
Yeah, and getting a new keyboard just for the Air is a good sign, I think, for them. At least showing it some respect of just not like, just keep using the old
That old iPad Pro keyboard,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let's dive into Beats.
Beats.
So headphones are a fun thing. I my one and only pair of Beats was the Beats Studio 3s,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember being plagued with the headband constantly breaking, and I replaced that myself from Amazon Parts probably about 10 times, maybe more actually. Cuz yeah, and then the AirPods Max came out. I was like, thank God this thing doesn't bend, cuz that's the part that just she constantly breaks in headphones, at least the Beats. So that was
Yeah.
like, people complain like, "Oh, you can't bend it out." It's like, it's surely a reliability thing, and Apple tested this. Like, if we don't make it bend, it won't break.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I guess my experience with Beats. I love them otherwise. Like, great pair of headphones. My current headphones setup, I've got the AirPods Pro 2. I've got 2 pairs of those, one for my Vision Pro with USB-C and one for Lightning that I beat up during the workday. And then I've got the Sony, the PlayStation headphones that work with the PlayStation Link adapter for, you know, my iPad, Mac, and PlayStation, all that. And I also got their their AirPods that's PlayStation released, so I can use those as my PlayStation Portal, of course, because those don't support Bluetooth. And
such a wonderful design.
And the case on that design is just spot on. It's a mini PS5 case, which I just love. So yeah, I've got a lot of headphones, but you have a lot of Beats headphones.
I do.
So what's your current lineup? What's your headphones here?
Okay. From the top, I have the Beats Studio Pros. I have a black pair, and there's a white pair that was only on Amazon.
You have two of the okay. I mean, I have 2 AirPods Pro too, but yeah.
Yours is at least functionally different. Mine is
a
just
little
like
bit.
I love white electronics, so the white ones go in my iPad bag.
Okay.
Those are my, I guess, dedicated iPad travel headphones. Anyway.
Yeah.
So
No, I get it. Yeah.
Beats Studio Pros. I have the Power Beats Pro 2, the new ones.
Mm-hmm. What color?
In black.
Okay. Orange is so nice. I'm looking at the orange.
It is. I'm not that person though.
You got to be bold for
I'm not
that one. Yeah.
No, I'm pretty boring. I still have, to their credit, I still have the Power Beats Pro 1, and they work fine. Like, outside of some minor issues around charging from time to time, like, they work fine. I've owned these pairs of earphones probably the longest ever. Like, I bought them day one 6 years ago.
6-year refresh cycle for this.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they just kept on trucking, and because they had, the case itself had such a big battery, like, for my purposes, which is working out, like, they actually still work just fine.
Yeah.
And then quickly have the Beats Solo Pros, which were released for one generation.
Okay.
I have the Beats Studio Buds, not the Plus, but the original, just basic ones.
$80 for their AirPod
well, there's
knockoffs. Yeah.
There's actually those are the Beats Solo Buds. Then there's the Beats Studio Buds and the Beats Studio Buds Plus. Not at all confusing.
No.
And then I think that might be it for my Beats.
No Beats Flex, the $70 wired version. Yeah.
Oh no, didn't even consider that for a second. No.
Yeah. Okay. And the Beats Studio Pro, prior to this, did you have the Studio 3s as well?
I did, and they cracked on me too.
They did.
I changed them a couple times. This was during the pandemic. Eventually, I got tired of it and just kind of taped it around the cracking. But I mean, they sounded good. They were probably the best pair of headphones I had, minus that, at the time. So yeah, I had the Studio 3s at one point.
But the Pros are not having that issue for you, at least.
No, so the ones, the black ones, I bought on day one, which is really stupid, by the way. Beats headphones go on sale very quickly, so like
They do. Yeah.
do not rush don't ever rush out and buy a pair of Beats. Just wait.
Never.
Anyway, but but I've had these over a year. Probably closer to a year and a half. No cracking, no issues.
Oh, good.
With
yeah.
the design.
Are they pretty much the same sound as the Studio 3s?
Yeah, I mean they're a little better from what I remember. It's been a long
Okay.
time on the Studio 3s, but you know,
But they have all the the Studio 3s didn't have transparency mode and all
correct.
that personalized spatial audio.
I mean they
yeah,
have micro USB charging.
Right,
That's
so
all
it's
they were.
USB-C now, and you can have lossless audio via that cable, which AirPods Max not that ability there.
See, it's interesting, yeah, because I've seen some people say the Studio Pros are a better value than the AirPods Max. And I don't know that I go that far because the AirPods Max do sound better at the end
They
of the
do.
day. And I
More
think that's
premium materials and all
yeah,
that.
which
too.
I know some people say are too heavy, and to each their own. But the sound is number one, right? And that's
Sure.
so even if the AirPods Max aren't getting the new features they should, like they still sound they're the best sounding pair of headphones I have. Even that
Yeah.
includes the AirPods Pro 2. So, but the Beats Studio Pros are a close second, like you said.
It's got
USB
an aux
charging,
jack, which is nice
yeah,
as well.
yeah. It comes in handy for various portable electronics. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the Portal has a headphone jack.
It
but-
does, yeah.
Okay.
So I'd be able to use
But
that way. Yeah.
I actually, when I do, I don't travel a lot, but when I do, it's the Studio Pros that come with me just for
Okay.
that flexibility. I
Right.
can plug them into my Switch or my ROG Ally and, whatever else I may need to.
Yeah.
Wired.
Nice. Yeah.
But they're great. I love these headphones. I do. After everything I just said, I do still recommend them to people, especially if you can get them on sale because they're solid headphones. And I know Beats still has this reputation, which is, I guess, shows the power of first impressions because Apple's owned them for like 10 years and they haven't been like the bass heavy monsters that people like. Literally every Beats review I watched includes the section of like, I know Beats are known to be really bass heavy, but actually, and it's like, it's been 10 years since that's been true. Like,
yeah.
it's like they're not as balanced as say the AirPods, but like you kind of buy Beats for the bass, I think.
Sure.
Because you kind of like that profile, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's in no way overpowering.
Yeah. And as we record, Amazon has them as a limited time deal for 50% off at $179.95.
Exactly. See,
Yeah.
like
So for that price, man, yeah, great pair of headphones, right? Yeah.
they are wonderful to have a pair in your collection, or as your only headphones if you're more sensible.
Yes.
You don't need a collection.
Each headphone has a purpose and a role in our lives. As
It
you all
does.
know. Yeah.
I tried to explain that to my wife, and she just shook her head.
Same. It's like, why do you have? Yeah.
Mhm.
It's hard to explain.
But yeah, so those are great. And then the Powerbeats Pro 2 just came out within the last month,
Yeah,
month
people
and a half.
seem to like these new headphones, right?
Yeah. I can't, I guess can't is strong, but I love the security of the ear hook design for working out.
Yeah.
I've tried the AirPods when running, and they want to slip out of my ear. I just can't. So I went back to these when the Powerbeats Pro came out, and I don't think I can do any other.
The ear hook is
Type.
comfortable for you?
It is, even with glasses, it doesn't.
Interesting. Yeah, I would think with glasses that might be a problem, but yeah.
The only place it was a problem was the Vision Pro.
Interesting.
Yeah,
That hits the Vision Pro.
Yeah,
Or the way
and
is on your face.
yeah, the band gets in the way, and it's just not super comfortable for me, at least.
Yeah.
But I tried it, of course, because they had the H2, which means they support lossless audio
On the Vision Pro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I was even trying that.
Right.
But I don't think I'll be ever wearing those with the Vision Pro again.
Gotcha.
So
And the case is much smaller, and I hear that's one of the big improvements.
Yes, the case on the previous one was ridiculously big. Like it was,
Yeah.
and it's never going to be AirPod size, right? It's
Right, because you
because
have the ear hooked, so you have to fit it,
yeah,
yeah, within that.
physically bigger. But and maybe this is only a me thing. I generally keep my case for my wireless earphones in my pocket because I know back in the day, sometimes like if one cut out or something, like
Mm-hmm.
you'd have to put them back in the case to
Sure.
reconnect them, and which hasn't been a thing in a while, to be fair. But I still keep them in my pocket, and that thing is just massive. The
Right.
new one's still kind of big. I think it's something like 30% smaller, but and significantly lighter as well. So it feels better. It's still big, but
Mm-hmm.
definite improvements there.
And it's got a heart rate monitor.
It does.
Do you have any use for that at all?
I don't as an Apple Watch user.
Yeah.
What we were hoping for, and I guess this doesn't bode well for the rumored AirPods with heart rate monitoring in them. There's not like a meshing of the data. It's like the Apple Watch always takes precedence.
Yeah, I wonder if iOS 19 will add that as a feature.
I really hope so because it seems like such a waste.
Right.
Um, because I would want that extra, give my heart rate data that extra fidelity from two different sources,
Definitely.
just
Yeah.
mixed together. But it doesn't do that today, so that's a downer. And apparently, there's like a mini controversy. I guess if you have the Powerbeats Pro 2 paired to gym equipment,
Uh-huh.
which I guess and you're sharing using the heart rate monitor, it can't also stream music at the same time.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah, I'm guessing there's not enough
Bandwidth.
bandwidth.
Yeah. And it needs the
Um,
H2 for that part.
well, even with the H2, it can't. It apparently can't do that.
Oh.
Um,
Huh.
which is weird. Um, maybe it's something they can fix in a firmware update. Maybe it's something they couldn't get to before release, but they took 6 years, so I don't know why that would be.
So the gym equipment is receiving the heart rate data from the earphones, and where's the music's coming from?
Your phone, presumably.
So it can connect the two things at once like that.
That is my understanding. I didn't have this issue as an Apple Watch user, but
Yeah, that
this is
seems
what
like a
I've
weird
read.
thing where you'd want to connect it to two different things. I get it, sort of trying to get the heart rate data there, but most
Yeah.
devices can't connect the two Bluetooth things simultaneously. Sony's headphones, they have the PlayStation Link as one connection, then Bluetooth as the other.
Yeah.
Dual Bluetooth is, I think, a more rare thing.
They might be able to fix that in the future.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. And then they have a tactile button to change the volume. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a volume rocker on the top,
Mm-hmm.
and then there is the physical Beats button for play pause or triggering
Nice.
your voice assistant. So it is nice. It is kind of you're pushing in your ear, which
Yeah.
is kind of uncomfortable, but it is nice having the physical volume buttons.
And these are exclusively for workout for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I tested them kind of as everyday earphones, but the everyday thing is really more my AirPods Pro 2.
Yeah, it makes
These
sense.
are specifically uh, just for workouts.
Gotcha. Yeah. Anything else to say about Beats or headphones in general?
The thing, where Beats are in kind of a interesting place for Apple because that seems to be their outlet for better Android support.
Mm-hmm. For
And
sure.
that seems to be the direction they've taken Beats. Is like, hey, we support both platforms roughly equally as well. Um, they're probably the closest we're going to get anytime soon to AirPods with colors. Since Beats usually have color, and they get more
Yeah.
over time,
Right.
which is nice. So I think they're always worth considering as an option as an Apple user if you're in the ecosystem to at least give the Beats a look. I would say, if you are put off because of their reputation as like drowning in bass, Apple Apple changed that. Apple fixed that real quick. So there is still pronounced bass, but it's definitely not what it was. So I would say, next time you're looking for a pair of earphones for your iPad or whatever, give those a look, see what they have.
Yeah.
I'm also a little jealous that the Beats app still exists on Android. So like you can just go in there and hey, there's a software update. Let me tap this button. Oh, look, my headphones are updated. I don't have to wait for Apple to decide when they're going to push an update, silently,
Right.
when they're not connected and that whole thing they do.
Yeah. These solo bud things, I must say also as we wrap up the Beats, there's no stem. They just kind of disappear into your ear. Like they seem to be the most if you want to be discreet with your headphones, they seem to be as close as you can get for that right now.
Yeah.
But there's no
Yeah,
way to control anything on those, right? I'd imagine you have to do it entirely on the watch or
on the
your
phone or watch. Yeah.
which that would annoy me to no end because I'm constantly swiping my ear for volume changes, like or pausing or whatever. Yeah.
When I remember originally buying the Beats Studio Buds as they were going to be my black AirPods that I've always wanted.
Yes.
But it's just interesting to see how, again, the AirPods Pro 2 are such an incredible value with like the features they've added since release. Like
Mm-hmm.
they've gotten so much better than what they started with. And Beats doesn't get any of that stuff, right? Like
Right.
even though it has H2, there's none of the hearing aid stuff that was recently added. Um, those extra value adds don't come over to the Beats, which makes it hard for them to ever replace the AirPods Pro, which is maybe the point. I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
um, they're still good, headphones.
Yeah. I guess I'm seeing there actually is a control button for the solo buds. Customizable on-ear functions allow you to control music, take calls, and activate your voice system by pressing the B button.
Okay.
You can also configure the B button iOS settings of your Beats to control your volume up on one side, down on the other, which is interesting. So, like, your left ear would go up, your right ear would go down. Yeah, it's an intriguing product for $80.
Did you semi-related? Did you see Beats randomly made a iPhone case?
I did, yeah. It's like the case that Apple refuses to make for the iPhone.
Which is kind of weird. Like people, it's like Fine Woven wasn't a success. They're like, whatever, you guys just make a case. Like we're gonna go back to the drawing board. Beats, you do something.
And it looks like they have new colors. And I'm guessing the original colors are the ones with the B logo, but the new ones just have the MagSafe ring and no Beats branding, which is interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Not a
Yeah.
case guy, so I don't.
Yeah,
I just think
neither.
it's interesting they
I'm
did
a
that.
sleeve person for my stuff. I guess let's just briefly wrap up with Apple Intelligence. So it appears that we have all the Apple Intelligence features that will be shipped now for iOS 18 and iPad OS 18. Outside of the priority notifications, which is in the betas for 18.4.
Yeah.
But they're not doing the personalized Siri and the contextual stuff of what's on your screen. And none of that's coming within anytime soon here. Next year or so, Apple said.
Right.
They'll finally do that. So potentially a year from now, 19.4 will finally get that stuff.
That's an important thing to note because that quickly got, I don't know, I say popcorn. What's the phrase? Telephoned, whatever.
Yeah.
To Apple canceled Siri. That's not happening anymore. It's like, no. They said it's gonna, another year or something.
Yeah. Which
It's
is very
delayed.
disappointing.
It is 100%.
Because that was the stuff I was most excited about. I think most people were.
Yeah.
Yeah, Apple Intelligence, like, I use it sometimes, but it's definitely not like hasn't changed my life in any way, really. Genmoji were fun to create. Yeah.
It's funny because every time Tim Cook talks about it, he talks about it's how much of a game changer it is for him, and kind of shake your head like I get it, you're the CEO, but it's like how? Like,
Summarized messages are comical at times. They're
yeah,
mostly accurate, but sometimes it's just funny the way it does some of the summaries.
yeah. So Apple Intelligence is, well, I guess I anticipate more smaller features. I think there's probably things that Apple already had in the works that they'll just fold under the Apple Intelligence banner because,
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of things that they've done already that could be considered AI, but they never like just put it under that banner. So I think there'll be things in, iPad OS 19 that'll still be Apple Intelligence, but on a much smaller scale.
Right.
Um, but yeah, as far as the delay, like it's unfortunate, and I think there are absolutely questions to be asked about how this happened. Like
Mm-hmm.
there was, I don't know if you saw, was it Friday, the leaked meeting information from the Siri team meeting,
Yeah.
and they kind of pointed the finger at one point at marketing for advertising these features so early.
Yeah.
So to me, that was the thing that stuck out to me of like something went wrong there. Like it's not even, and I'm guessing marketing looked at the features and said this isn't exciting enough. Like we need more. We're going to put this in there, but like that was allowed to happen. I hope there's some reflection within the company on how that happened, cuz I'm not even mad at the delay. Like take the, we can get AI. There's so many places where we can
Mm-hmm.
get AI features, right? Like that it live in my operating system. It's not the most important thing in the world to me. But like if you're going to do it, like do it well, do it right.
Yeah, don't have Ellie from The Last of Us show off something that we won't be able to use, and we'll have the
Yeah.
apocalypse before we actually get it.
So that's yeah, exactly. But that's the most concerning thing to me is that
Yeah,
that marketing apparently based on what that was leaked, marketing was allowed to just run wild with
I
that.
believe it
And
because it's kind of crazy that they did that. This is something that's it's vaporware that they're like promoting. And when I was in Walmart after the new iPhones came out, so I'm in Walmart like once a year or whatever. I don't go off, but when it was shocking to me over the loudspeakers. They periodically just run ads, and it's like, get the new iPhone with Apple Intelligence. Like that's so weird. Why do people? That's I guess the marketing push this year is Apple Intelligence.
it is, and then we kind of forgot about that with the base iPad not having Apple Intelligence. The iPad 11. It's funny because I was just finishing a video where I was talking about how there was no way they would ever do that, and then they did. So I'm
They
glad I didn't
did,
put that video out. But
yeah. I agree with
but
you. It's kind of crazy that but yeah, I mean, it makes kind of sense for what they did and what they prioritized. I'd rather have more storage than the A17 Pro chip in there.
I just yeah. I mean I don't know. It's just I feel bad for the engineers. As a developer, I guess I feel bad for the developers who, I mean they not their fault, but I mean that whole team looks bad now. Just that whole team looks like they can't ship.
Yeah, we'll see what
Um,
they announce for new Apple Intelligence features this upcoming year. Like, do they have a new set of features, or are they just like re-announcing this thing that's coming in iOS 19?
I mean, I hope they have something new, if for no other reason. I'm so sick about hearing about the same features over and over again at every
Yes,
Apple
yes,
product launch. It's like, okay, we get it. Yeah, we
yeah,
know writing
yeah,
tools, and I do. As a pseudo writer, I actually use writing tools. Proofread, if nothing else,
yeah. And maybe iOS
saves me.
19 makes the user interface for writing tools much better. That shows you a before and after kind of thing. That would be very much
Yeah.
appreciated. And I think they've probably gotten that feedback from numerous of feedback.
Mm-hmm. For
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, I still, I have high hopes for what Apple Intelligence will become. I don't think this is a crisis, like some people are saying, by any stretch of the imagination. But I just hope, Tim Cook is laying down the law in terms of like, figuring out how this happened and making sure it doesn't happen again with this over promising, because that is generally not something. I mean, Apple generally doesn't announce things until either they're ready or they're relatively confident they can ship them. And AirPower is probably the only other example I can think of where it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But the original AirPods, I don't know if you remember, they announced the AirPods and then they went silent for a while. And then there were rumors, because I think they shipped they were announced in September, they shipped in December.
That's right.
Um,
Yeah.
And there were rumors that, they're having trouble getting the individual earbuds to sync up and all this stuff. And I think sometimes, Apple will just, almost as a way to push their engineers, announce things when they're close, just to give them that extra push. But it's unfortunate
For sure.
the way this all happened.
Yeah. Well, we're like 3 months away from WWDC, so should be interesting summer here.
I think so. I'm encouraged by the iPhone. We're apparently, not to go too far into this, but there are more rumors the folding iPhone is coming, the book style folding iPhone coming in the next couple of years. And obviously it makes all the sense in the world that when you unfold this folding iPhone, it would run iPad OS, right?
That would make too much sense.
So if it was going to run iPad OS, then it would make sense. Maybe we need another big, iPad OS release sometime soon, just to
That'd
get
be good.
Tie it to the iPhone, and it's for sure to get attention.
For sure. We'll see if that happens.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, absolutely. Well, anything else before we wrap it up?
No, I think we covered everything. I think that's good.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Riley. Really appreciate your time diving into all this fun hardware stuff. And hopefully, I imagine our next hardware discussion with new iPads will be the iPad Pro, and that'll be more exciting updates, to say the least.
I hope so. Yeah. If it's
we say
months,
that,
it should be,
but it's probably just be the M5 chip, right? Let's be real.
It could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we stick to 18 months, that's like October, I think.
Yeah, it's this
the last
year.
one came out. Yeah, so
everyone's saying it's not happening this year, but I mean, Apple's pretty. They stick to the calendar pretty well with the iPad Pro. Pretty much every 18 months, it's comes out.
So yeah, I'm still expecting it this year. But M5 and hopefully some other things, but M5 is good too.
I was just thinking, it's potential that the iPad Pro debuts the M5 chip again. I just love that. That's just great.
That annoys people.
It really does. It's so funny that it annoys people because don't they all realize the M chips are the old iPad Pro chips, really?
Yes.
That's where they came from.
People forgot that so fast.
They really did.
And it's like they're putting these Mac chips in. No, they're
iPad chips.
They're iPad chips.
iPad Pro chips, yeah. Because
They
used to have the. What was the last one before they moved over the M?
It was the A12Z.
The Z, yeah. They used to have the Z variants and the X variants. Yeah. That's right, yeah.
Yep.
Those were the days. Anyways. Where would you like people to point to watch your videos and all that good stuff?
SlatePad on YouTube, but going to slatepad.org, you will find my writing and the videos and everything I'm doing there as well.
Sounds good. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, as my discussion with Riley, my thanks again to Riley for his time recording. And thanks to you for your time and attention tuning in. If you'd like to support this podcast, you can do so by heading over to visionpros.fm/Patreon. And by subscribing to either the Patreon or an Apple Podcast, you'll get both this podcast and iPad Pros early. My great thanks to everyone that supports the show. With that, I'll talk with everyone again real soon.